story about him is how he died. Okay, so basically, this is going to be very rambly and unorganized. Thomas worked at a creosote factory for most of his life. It was listed on his death certificate as his occupation, which already is probably not a very good health-wise occupation, because I imagine that that's very toxic to breathe in and stuff. He also at one point had, I guess, a side gig where he would house dead bodies basically in his living room. So in smaller towns back in the day, most people couldn't afford mortuaries, I guess, or funeral homes, and they didn't have anybody else to hold the body for them until they were ready to be cremated or whatever. I don't think that embalming was very popular at this point in time, but he would basically be paid by family members to take the dead body, and he would just have it laying in his living room, like under a sheet, which I find very strange, but you know, I don't know, maybe it was good money. He also was reportedly in the KKK, reportedly a high-ranking member. The most interesting part about it is that he had a black man that lived on his property and was his bodyguard and would essentially go with him everywhere he went, like to the grocery store, anywhere that Thomas went. This man went with him as his bodyguard. I don't know what he was needing to be guarded from. My great-grandmother thinks that he, I don't know, had some bad business with the KKK or something like that, and he suicide. And of course, he did put that on the death certificate, and he said that it was by Paris Green. I don't know, very interesting. So my great-grandmother thinks that he killed himself because of the KKK, that the KKK was after him and he was scared or something, and so he just decided to kill himself. I don't know, very strange. Another strange thing was his wife. My great-grandmother wrote that she was always talking about the angels and like how the angels talked to her, and the angels were saying this and the angels were saying that or whatever. But my grandmother told me that they made their own moonshine, and she drank it pretty frequently, so I think that she was probably a little crazy and probably also had some mental illness or something. But yeah, and then her husband, he killed himself by drinking Paris Green, which is so crazy to me. I always think about that. We will move on to his daughter, so Thomas's daughter, which would be I guess I got it wrong. I don't know, there's so many greats. I think it would be my great-great-grandmother. So Thomas would be my great-great-great-grandfather. So my great-great-grandmother is Thomas's daughter. And what was her name? I can't remember her name. Honestly, I cannot remember her name right now. I'm so sorry. Not that I really want to pull all my family names out there, but I can't remember it. For this story, I will tell it from I guess the beginning of how my grandmother knows it. There's probably a lot of stories to tell about her, but I don't really know any other than the one where she's dead, where she died. So for this story, I will tell it from my grandmother's point of view. So when my grandmother was 16 years old, the police showed up at her home and informed the family that my grandmother's grandma had passed away. And my grandmother was very confused about that, because at this point she had never known that she had a living grandmother or living family at all. Not only did she have living family, but the grandmother lived just like a couple blocks away. They lived in the same town. So my great-great-grandmother was kind of not a very good person, not a very nice person. She had told her daughter, when she got married to a man that she had met, my great-grandmother had met this man, she had liked this man. I think she was jealous. Her daughter told her that she was marrying this man, and that was basically where she went no contact and was like, I'm never going to talk to you ever again. If you have children, they're going to be freaks, and I don't want anything to do with them. So, not a very nice person. And she stayed true to her word. My grandmother is one of 4 children, and she's the youngest. So, I don't know how many years. That's maybe 20 years where she had never talked to her daughter, right? So, I think. So, she had spent 20 years living in the same town and not talking to her. And then her daughter gets a knock on the door, okay, yeah, she's dead. So, obviously, I don't know if my grandmother's other siblings knew about her, but my grandmother is very shocked about this. Obviously, the family are well, how did she die? The police tell them that a pack of dogs, they weren't wild dogs, they were just neighborhood dogs. A pack of dogs that was roaming the neighborhood that she lived in broke into her house and ate her. And that was it. That was all they said. Which sounds like a pretty very suspicious to me. So they get into the kitchen, and on the stove is a large stock pot with a lid on it. When they take the lid off, inside is, they said that it looked like pork, like meat, some sort of whitish, pinkish meat or something, like pork was being boiled on the stove in water or something, and they said that it smelled so foul that they, I guess they weren't thinking that it could have been her mother, that could have been her body. So they basically just took it outside and dumped it. And also, what's weird, I guess, I don't know, I try to rationalize it, like maybe she was boiling some bones, but they said they couldn't tell what kind of meat it was. And the reason I mention that is because it had recently been Thanksgiving. Oh, this is like a very timely story, isn't it? Maybe 5 days after Thanksgiving, so maybe she was boiling down some turkey for some stock or something. But I feel like you could easily tell if it was turkey or chicken just because of the type of bones, right? They had known that she was alive on or after Thanksgiving because her neighbor, Audie Mae, her neighbor's name, I love how I remember the neighbor's name, but I don't remember my great-great-grandmother's name. The neighbor, Audie Mae, had come over and brought her some Thanksgiving dinner, which leads me to believe that she wasn't cooking for Thanksgiving. It was just her in the house, her and the dog. I don't think that she would have been making a turkey, and I don't think Audie Mae would bring her a whole turkey carcass, you know? So what was in the stock pot? I really think that it could have been her. They know that Audie Mae came and saw her on or after Thanksgiving. I think it was on Thanksgiving. She was like a neighbor, but I don't think that she lived next door. I think she was like near her, but not super close. But the thing with Audie Mae is that they weren't really sure how the two of them met or knew each other or were so close that she would bring her Thanksgiving dinner and stuff like that. But my great-grandmother remembers a little bit after going to the house and finding the stock pot and realizing that her mother had died and whatever, right? She had seen Audie Mae wearing some jewelry. I think it was some rings that my great-grandmother swears were her mother's. And that's not to say that Audie Mae killed my great-great-grandmother for her jewelry, because we don't know how close they were. Maybe she had just given Audie Mae some jewelry because she was